And lastly, the Reds off to a good start. They've won their first 2 games. With more on that, let's go to our main man out there in the cloudy confines of Arizona. From Cincinnati.com, Charlie. Charlie, what in the world is going on? I was expecting nothing but blue skies above you today.
Yeah, I'm an open book about the weather, and I'll tell it how it is. Today is the first kind of crummy morning. It had been perfect, but today is a bit of a change of scenery.
Well, I've always told people who are going out to Arizona for spring training, because I lived out there 14 years, I've always told them that basically from about that second or third week of February till basically about the 10th, 11th, 12th of March, if you can move your trip back beyond the 12th of March, I would do it. Because this is a time of the year you just don't know. It could be perfect, like you said, and then all of a sudden it's cold and the wind's blowing and it ruins a good vacation. All right, neither here nor there. Your thoughts over the weekend. The Reds win the first 2 games. Hunter Greene started the game yesterday. What were the big takeaways from the first 2 games for you?
That's a good question. I would say the biggest thing with Hunter Greene especially was the first time he threw that curveball ever in a game that, any sort of game was full count, leadoff batter. And such a big thing with Hunter Greene throughout his career with his third pitch, which had been his changeup, was he just wasn't throwing it. When it came time to, either go for it or not go for it, Hunter Greene went to his fastball and his slider. And I get it. I'd probably do the same thing, go down with what you're most confident in. But in this spring training environment, he knows he's basically one pitch away from making the jump from very good young starter to very good to great starter. So moments like that are kind of what you want to see. An up and down overall start from him, but you like to see him throwing the curveball and the splitter, which he said was really fantastic.
There's a lot of news on the injury front, and kind of bring us up to date. Because look, I'm not speaking for you, but I have always said in this HIPAA day and age and all these kinds of things that when people tell you about players and their injuries, we're really not getting the full story, and that's not anybody's fault. Let's start with India. Now, I have had plantar fascia for the better part of 15 years. I've seen every doctor known to man, literally from coast to coast. And the only thing that got it better for me, I went to Tim Kremchek, and those guys gave me PRP, where they take blood out of your arm, they spin it in a machine, they go back and they inject the areas of the tears around the plantar fascia, and that's the only way it got better for me. I had it forever, and it's brutal. Where is he on all of this?
So I've learned a lot about the heel throughout this process. So plantar fasciitis is basically a ring. Last year there were micro tears on that ring that India pushed through and they had to recover on their own, and it didn't quite sync up, and he was pushing in the end. In the offseason, that ring actually broke, which sounds bad but is good, because now that means he wouldn't need surgery. The line they're using is he can't re-injure it. It was injured and now it's healing. But it can still get aggravated. It can still be sore. It can still be, painful or nagging or something like that. That's what India dealt with during the offseason. He's going really through a rehab progression to get all the way back. He won't play until spring games until about the 7th or 8th of March. But he's been taking live batting practice all spring. He's been doing agility and running work and all of that. They just want to really manage his workload. They don't want him set him loose on the bases in an uncontrolled game environment. Keep it in a controlled setting, but he is doing everything: fielding ground balls, swinging, running, all of that.
Okay, well, that's something I am really going to keep an eye on, because, like I said, I had it seemingly forever and tried everything, and the only thing that worked was the PRP injections. And once you get one of those, you go into a boot for 4 weeks. They give you a second injection. You're in a boot for another 4 weeks. So, I hope and pray for his sake that this thing does indeed heal with some rest, and we'll see how it plays out. Then there's Nick Lodolo. I saw where you're reporting that he is going to start throwing live batting practice. Not in games, live batting practice. What does that mean for him and the chances of being ready in the starting rotation by opening day?
So he threw that live batting practice 2 days ago. He looked great. The breaking ball was spinning like it usually does. He was elevating the sinker and getting good results. Also, it's very notable when he threw that live batting practice, the whole brain trust was there. There was very much a focus on where Lodolo and where he's at. David Bell's line has been, if everything goes perfect, he'll be ready for opening day.
Okay.
What I've seen is everything has gone perfect so far. But again, it's a very rare, unique injury. That honestly, it took them a little bit to pinpoint what it was. Originally diagnosed as a calf, then a stress reaction in the tibia. It's coming off his drive foot. There really isn't a track record of pitching through this. So for all those reasons, they're just managing it carefully. They're continuing to see where he's at. It's been good so far, but he's still got a lot of room to grow.
What is David Bell? I mean, he's got so much going on here with so many players. It's a good problem to have. One really he's never had his tenure as a manager of the Reds, where there's an abundance of talent and there is very good depth. They keep bringing in these veteran guys, Ford and guys like that, to all of a sudden at least take a look at. So, has he laid out to you or anybody else sort of what it is on a day-by-day, week-by-week thing he wants to see from anybody in particular?
In the spring or during the season when they get these lineups?
In the spring, yes. Here in the spring as we go day by day, week by week, because, look, they've laid it on the line. They've said some of these young players, they need to play well here in spring training. So I guess that's where I'm going.
So like Tony Kemp, for example, a great example. They've been looking at him all offseason, and Mike Ford's another guy who, they wanted to add that type of guy. They wanted to add Tony Kemp type of guy because they lost their entire AAA infield from last year. They have all this infield depth at the major league level, but entering the spring, they are one injury away from adding a guy who really didn't have much of a track record, needing to call him up to the big league roster. Like Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz with their AAA infield depth. This year, obviously, that's their starting middle infield. So all of these veterans, Josh Harrison as well, Mark Mathias, they give them some reinforcements, some break in case of emergency type of guys. But I don't see a world where, even Ellie De La Cruz, as much as he struggled at the plate last year, the guy he was in August and September by just about every metric was just a more valuable player than Josh Harrison, than Tony Kemp, than Mike Ford, because of what Ellie contributes defensively, base running, the offensive ceiling. He's also a guy they really want to see at-bats from. So what do they want to see from these guys? Continuing the adjustment process, but they obviously have a lot of confidence in them, and then they've continued to kind of backfill the organizational depth with minor league deals.